Welcome to episode 4 of our Bay Area / Grocery League Dynasty Owner Interview podcast show. I have Steven Sanchez here with me today. Steven is in our Grocery
Good
League.
afternoon, everybody.
Welcome. Glad to have you on. All right, let's kind of get into this conversation a little bit. What got you into football?
Just as a family, we've always been into sports. I played soccer a lot growing up, but I used to watch the Raiders games with my dad all the time. And then, obviously, personal things, switched to a Dolphins fan randomly, so couldn't deal with the Raiders no more.
That is a big jump from like West Coast to East Coast. So the Dolphins are your favorite team.
So after the Raiders lost the Super Bowl to the Bucks, we had a family thing, so I didn't really go to my dad's house anymore. And the first game I watched outside of that was the Dolphins, and it's kind of stuck with it from there. I was probably like 7, 8 years old.
Wow. Yeah, my uncle is a Dolphins fan. But back in the
Not
day,
a lot of us out here.
he was a Marino fan. Like he grew up watching Marino, and it's kind of crazy because like in the Bay Area at the time, like the Niners were really big. But yeah, my uncle is a Dolphins fan, and he's married to a Lions fan.
That's not bad. As long as it's not Dolphins Patriots, they can live with that.
And their daughter is a Chiefs fan. So that household just has like craziness. So yeah, the Dolphins. I will say you guys have some pretty slick uniform colors, like with the Dolphins.
Uniforms are always pretty nice. I'd say top 5 in the league. Chargers always got the best though. I feel like, especially when they pull out the powder blues.
Those powder blues are iconic. Like I mentioned it with my cousin on his episode. We talked about the powder blues, but like they're probably one of my favorite uniform like looks of all time.
Oh yeah.
So who's your favorite player, past and present?
Past was Peyton Manning. That guy won me so many fantasy leagues, but I think that's also just because I grew into a Peyton Manning fan. Because the first time I ever did fantasy, we won, and I had Peyton Manning, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, and that's when the Colts were just rolling through everybody. They're like 15-1, and I was like, I'm just gonna draft Peyton Manning every year. So he became my favorite player at the time. Present, I'll probably say Tyreek.
Tyreek,
just because he's a Dolphins guy. A non-Dolphins player, gotta go non-Dolphins. Aaron Donald technically just retired, so he's technically passed now. But it'd probably been Aaron Donald.
I'll allow it. That was pretty shocking. That retirement. As a Niner fan, I'm not mad at all about it.
I don't think anybody in the NFC is mad about that. No, he had been hinting about it for a couple years after the Super Bowl, and I was like, I don't think he'll do it. He's still young. And then, like, just randomly, ESPN, he retired. I was like, damn, that's
I was at work and saw the notification, and I was like, oh shit, like this is big news. But
and I think the Rams were trending in the right direction too.
Yeah, that's
nice.
I know Jason Beck, also known as Ramley, in our grocery league. He's probably hurting over that one.
He's punching the air right now.
Yeah. So what do you like about football, like the sport of football?
So, when I played soccer, I was always smaller, but I used to like just hit everybody because I was so small. So I like the physicality part of it. It's an exciting sport. And then the other sport I like is baseball. So baseball's not as exciting. So I kind of gravitated more towards the football where there's more action. You actually get more playing time instead of baseball. It's like a play every minute.
Yeah, baseball. I grew up playing baseball, and I was never any good at baseball. But I think I liked baseball better, like when I was younger, because my dad was really good at baseball, and I wanted to be like him. But football is where I excelled better than.
Now that you asked that question, Dante Hall, underrated. I used to call myself Dante Hall when we played street football.
Yeah, he was.
Because I was always smaller and just fast. I'd always just try to outrun everybody. So Dante Hall.
Yeah, he is underrated, but was a stud player, definitely. What do you like about fantasy football?
It's unpredictable. Obviously, you win money, so that's a bonus. Uh, but I think it just keeps so outside of work. I don't really have much going on. So when I have fantasy going on, kind of have my mind on something like trying to be competitive or something like that. Like I said, obviously there's money involved, so you kind of have to be there.
Yeah, we don't have too high of stakes for our leagues. Even though we do have a couple extra things going on. We're next off season for grocery league. We'll have our first Hall of Fame. So I think
Yeah,
that's like a $10 like prize if you can get a player in the Hall of Fame. So there's like some monetary stuff, but I think what you said about the unpredictability is pretty big as well. I always say like fantasy's a lot of luck in fantasy football.
oh yeah, because who was it? Dylan won somehow, and I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, like or
He had
like
CeeDee Lamb go for 50 every week, so I mean that kind of helps. So
or if you go back 2 years ago to our first grocery, like if you look
oh,
on paper, me versus Angel in the finals,
should have
like
been a blowout
you
on
would
your side.
take my team every day of the week, but on that Sunday, his team played better, and it's like you could put yourself in the best position. You could have the best team on paper. Doesn't guarantee you a championship.
No,
So it's kind of crazy fantasy football. Um, do you like dynasty or redraft better?
I'd probably I don't know much about Dynasty yet. I've only been in it for 2 years now. I don't know much about it, but
So
redraft I feel like keeps it very very exciting because you don't know what you're gonna have that year. Like Dynasty, you kind of know what you're gonna have every year and kind of figure it out from there. But redraft, I think it's just more anticipation from what the draft starts
yeah.
because you don't
So
know who you're gonna have on your team.
was this your first dynasty league?
My first and only. I might join another one with some coworkers, but I'm trying to learn the whole dynasty thing still.
I think as a group we kind of all are. Like I definitely spend a lot of time reading like the dynasty football Reddit and just kind of seeing like how the community views players. But it's definitely more you look at the players differently, or at least I do personally. Player view like asset are like assets. They're going to grow in value or they're going to decrease in value.
Yeah,
It's you're trying to always capitalize on like okay, like is this player going to like start downturning, like or are they going to still be good? It's a lot more.
there's a lot of unpredictability in both.
Yeah,
Because
and
dynasty, I traded for Eckler, and I was like, oh, I got the number 1 and 2 running backs in football. Eckler
and
decided to go crap himself this year.
yeah, and I think I've argued this with my cousin a lot because will text about players. He's very like, oh no, players can be good until they're 33, 32, and I'm like 28. I'm looking at them like, okay, when am I getting you off my roster? Because like I'm definitely ageist when it comes to fantasy
Yeah.
players.
I
Um,
was just like, he's going to catch so many passes. They throw the ball so much. And then he forgot how to run the ball in general
yeah,
and lost so much value.
he looked a little slow at times to me, like just running in mud almost. But it's hard to tell because like then you look at a player like Najee Harris, he looked the same way all year. Like he looked like he was running in mud, and he's 24, 25. Like
Yeah,
it's
but
not
he's
like
also
he's
like
old.
240 pounds.
Yeah,
Eckler is like 205.
and Harris has a lot more tread on like less tread on the tires because of how often he ran the ball in college and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, no, like you you want to look at it like I'm definitely trying to take a more Bill Belichick style approach where it's like I'd rather get rid of a player a year too early than a year too late. That's my personal philosophy, but you
See,
know,
I said I was going to trade Mike Evans. I don't think I'm trading Mike Evans anytime soon.
yeah, that's like that's why I traded AJ Brown this last year. Like he's probably going to still be good, but like I'd rather get rid of him a year too early than a year too late.
Yeah, and there's a lot of weapons in that offense.
Yeah.
In the goal line, he's not going to touch the ball because they're just going to tush push Jalen Hurts in.
Yeah, well, who knows? Was Jason Kelsey really the key behind that?
He used to say he used to just get lower than everybody. So I feel like he'll be more lost in a leadership standpoint instead of I think a talent standpoint. I think.
Yeah, definitely. He was a big figure in that locker room, and it'll be interesting to see how the team responds to that kind of a loss.
So I think even without him, they still have a top 5 O line, and I believe they still have their first round pick. They could trade up and go get the top center in the draft. It may not be the same as Kelsey, but I feel like you wouldn't be losing a whole lot.
True. That's very true. Very true. What do you like about our league in general?
Oh, the crap talking because we all see each other. Well, most of us see each other.
Yeah,
I see Dylan a couple times a week. I see you and Jason whenever I go to Albertsons.
Yeah, there's definitely me and Jason. We get into it pretty often, joking around. I think our group chat's still pretty active. There's some trash talk in the group chats every once in a while. It's a little bit slow because it's the off season right now. But I think I remember someone put a running back on the trade market, and I was like, I said a GIF or something like about you because you have all the running backs. You have the running back market corner.
I'm trying.
I think it was the Dave Chappelle. Like, you got any more of them running backs?
Hey, I got all of them. Yeah, me and you are both loaded at running back because you got Brees Hall and Bijan.
Yeah, that's true. I paid up for Bijan. I had
and
to
you
pay a lot.
have Rashad White who blew up.
Yeah, he. I think with him, it was definitely more of a volume over talent because it wasn't like the offense was that great, and he wasn't like he put up like stellar numbers. He just touched the ball so often. So I don't. I hope it happens again, but I'm not expecting much. But like you said, like he's my running back 4. So
yeah,
I'm not
3-4 on a
too
bad
worried.
day.
Yeah, I mean, I view Ken Walker as my running back 3. So White being my running back 4, like I'm okay if he doesn't do as well. But I probably should be trying to trade him right now, if like per my own philosophy. Like if I don't think he's gonna repeat, like sell high. But with me being viewing my roster as a contending team, I'm not trying to sell anyone right now.
Rashad White's value is definitely all time high. I had drafted him last year in the 7th round of my redraft. Ended up being like RB5 for the year.
I think he was like right around there. So what's one rule you would implement? You're commissioner for the day. What's one rule change or rule you would implement in our grocery dynasty league?
Good question. I'd have to think about that one. I wouldn't really thought about rules I would switch or try to even switch. Because there's not really that many rules in general. I mean, I think once free agency starts in NFL life, or like real life, that's when you should be able to start, I guess, free agency and fantasy life. Because now we're all sitting waiting for all these guys or for the free agency to open for fantasy.
Yeah, we're like waiting for our after our rookie draft. Because technically, anyone who's a free agent right now or player that gets dropped, you can draft them with a rookie pick. Which I think going off that free agency thing, I would kind of like think about doing the free agent auction instead of a waiver wire. I think that's something I would think would be better. Something I would like to toy with eventually. Oh, hang on. Looks like we're. Yeah. So one thing I think I'd like to implement would be like a free agent auction. instead of our waiver wire. I think that would be kind of cool. People could trade like their budget. That would maybe give something in the off season potentially.
Yeah, I know we have an auction through through like our company league. We do auction, so I think I think that makes it your waiver wire. It goes off for more money, and you can get a certain amount to start off the year with for the whole year.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit more complicated, so I think doing waiver wire while we kind of all got used to Dynasty was a good call. But eventually, I think that might be something I want to look into or potentially propose for our league. So yeah, let's talk about your team. Last year you were 11-3, and you were the second seed.
Let's not talk about that.
You were the second seed. You lost in the semis to your division rival Ruggs race car, Dylan. But like on a positive note, it was a rebound year because our first year you went 5-9 and you were the number 8 overall team, and you didn't have your first round. I can't remember exactly what that trade was. Both you and Dylan finished in the bottom 3 and didn't have your own first round picks.
I don't really want to talk about that part. That was a rough year.
You guys rebounded. Like, you did rebound. I give you guys that. So yeah, you have a pretty solid roster. Your quarterback room, I think
the big trade that helped me a lot was Mike Evans. Mike Evans was scoring 20 plus points.
Yeah, Mike Evans.
I picked up Trey McBride off waiver wire. He was 10 to 15 point guy. So waiver wire kind of helped me out a lot.
He's came on strong, Trey McBride. So like we'll talk about your tight end room. It's Pat Freiermuth and Trey McBride. And I think McBride's solid. I have him in my other dynasty league. But you picked him up off waivers. 2 different teams dropped him.
I think I was one of the teams that dropped him too.
And I was like, looking back at it after the year, I'm like, man, like when did he get Trey McBride? And I'm like looking through like the history, and it was like dropped. I'm like, why the hell didn't I not put a waiver claim in for this guy? Like, what was I thinking?
I think the only reason I put a waiver claim in for him was Freiermuth got hurt or kept getting hurt last year. So I was like, I just need a guy who's just going to be in the lineup. And Kyler just started throwing him every play. I was like, he's never coming out.
Yeah, he's definitely come on strong, and I think he's young. He's definitely a building block for you. Being, I think the dynasty community views him as like top 3 at his position going forward.
Oh yeah.
Your quarterback room, I think, is one of your like positions of need. Would say that. Tua Tagovailoa, who I always like the like saying his name like.
I don't think I've ever said it right, so I don't even try. It's just Tua now.
I just like saying it like the college football announcer, like how he would say it. But you have Sam Howell, who is no longer probably going to be a starter because I got into a debate with someone about it in another league, and I'm like, Sam Howell's not going to be a starter next year. Washington's going to draft a quarterback. But he goes to Seattle, where I think long term he might have some success there, though, for you.
I think he's got a shot because that wide receiver room over there is loaded. And Geno, I don't know if they see Geno as a long-term option, and he's already in his 30s, probably mid-30s now. And Howell's, 24, 25. So I think he'll get at least one more shot to start.
Howell's young, and I think I could see if Geno doesn't start off very hot, that they make the move to Sam Howell. So you might have it like at the start of the year, he's not going to be a starter, but he could have starting potential. Then you have Trey Lance, another project, so to say. But there's a lot of people in the football community that still view him highly and think if given the opportunity, he could do well.
Especially with the Cowboys. I mean, they're not going to stay with Dak forever. Dak's mid-30s already. How long is he really going to stay there? And do they want to pay him another big contract? We're going to start Trey Lance basically for free, essentially, at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I think with Trey Lance, because you don't know what you have there, it's almost like you hold and just hope for something else. And then the last person, you have Kyle Trask. I think he's probably like
He's probably done now at this point.
especially with Baker getting that contract extension. It's like he's
My
probably
hope was that they would kind of move on from Baker. They didn't want to pay him the money, and they obviously did. $100 million, 3 years. So Trask has no other, and he's like 25 already. So by the time he plays 28, he's not going to be much.
Yeah,
if he ever starts.
You know, like you have Tua. Tua's pretty solid. Tua's a top 10 quarterback. So there's that. And with your running back room, I think you can kind of like just patchwork together the quarterback room because your running back room is arguably one of the best in the league. I'd say CMC is at the head of that table, and it ain't looking like he's going to slow down next year. I think he's going to be just as good and just as putting up 20 points at least a game for you.
That offense is built for Christian McCaffrey.
Oh yeah, and Shanahan loves McCaffrey. Like he's going to feed him the rock, and I think in the regular season, Elijah Mitchell got like 10 carries, maybe. Like McCaffrey was it. McCaffrey was like he touched the ball a lot. But not only like with CMC, you have Travis Etienne, another bell cow back for Jacksonville, and then also we talked about Austin Eckler. He's going to be in a new situation with Washington. That could be a good thing for him. I think being that third down role, Brian Robinson doesn't really get a lot of passes, so he could still benefit from the PPR format with Washington. And
I think he can still be a double-digit guy or be close to it. It's not great, but he'll still get you 10 to 12 points a game potentially.
And with CMC, he's almost like a running back 1.5. Like he puts up the points like 1.5 running backs. So you only need like really like a flex guy as your number 2 to really be putting up like running back 1 and 2 numbers. So you have Etienne, you have DeAndre Swift who got a new deal with Chicago. I think that should be a good landing spot for him.
Especially if they go in, they're probably going Caleb. I don't know what other option they would have in that situation now that Fields is gone.
I could maybe see like in some alternate universe where they go Jaden Daniels, maybe, but they're going quarterback.
I just think if Caleb turns out to this generational guy that they're talking to him to be, you just missed out on another guy like you did Mahomes.
Yeah. Oh.
And you think if you just miss out on that generational guy, Bears fans can't. They've done it twice. Caleb and you have Patrick Mahomes. You messed out on.
That would be tough. Like I said, I think they're going to go Caleb Williams. I've always thought they're going to go Caleb Williams. I could see like a weird alternate reality where they go someone like Jaden Daniels better, and they go Jaden Daniels. But I think that either way, that'll help Swift. It kind of sucks for me. In my other Dynasty league, I had DeAndre Swift as my running back 1. I'm in total rebuild in this league. But I have tons of draft capital. I had DeAndre Swift as my running back 1. He's the best running back in my room. My other top running backs, like 2 and 3, would be Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. So I went from having like maybe a one starter and then a hopefully flex-worthy guy to now I have the whole Chicago Bears running back.
Yeah, the whole backfield.
And I'm just like, that hurt. Especially because like this draft isn't strong at running back.
Not at all.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to figure something out for my running back room. My wide receiver room in that league will be solid because I have 2 top 3 picks. So I'm getting 2 top 3 receivers to add to my already pretty decent wide receiver room. But yeah, speaking of wide receivers, let's go into your wide receiver room. We kind of spoke on Mike Evans, who's older but still like putting up solid numbers. Him and Baker have been doing well together. You have DJ Moore, who will be benefiting from a hopefully upgraded quarterback with whoever they draft. You have Hollywood Brown, who was one of your big free agency, I think, stock ups going to Kansas City. What do you think about that?
Oh, they throw the ball every play. I think Mahomes has been waiting for a not necessarily a speed guy, because they have always had a speed guy, but Rasheen Rice over the middle will just bring his safety in the box closer to him, and then now you got Hollywood just going deep every play. I think that'll work out.
Yeah, I think that's going to be dangerous for the NFL in general, and I think Hollywood Brown's stock is going to go up. He's a pretty solid receiver. And then another receiver, I want your opinion on this one, Deontay Johnson. He goes from Pittsburgh to Carolina. Do you think this is a stock up for him, or do you think it's a stock down?
I think it's a stock up. I mean, you have Thielen older. You're probably not going to play him much, not going to get paid. And Deontay Johnson, I was reading a stat that he was one of the top guys in separation. A guy who can get open, and Bryce Young got to throw to somebody. So take the risk.
Yeah, that's true. And he's always been a pretty strong target person.
Yeah.
Touchdowns haven't really been in his favor, and that could change. Touchdowns are very, like, from one year to the next, they say that's one of the hardest stats to, like, rely on. It's the volume, the targets. So, like, touchdowns can vary from year to year, so it's hard to use that as a measuring stick. But you also have Michael Pittman, who is a stud. Yeah, I kind of like. I think
I appreciate that trade. Let me tell you,
regret giving him up. I really had higher hopes for Jackson Smith-Njigba going into the year. I still think long term, maybe JSN is, like, the talent's there. But like, yeah, I probably, if I were to go back, would probably redo that one. I kind of regret that.
I know what helped me the most in that trade is you gave me Keenan Allen. Then I was able to trade Keenan Allen for a first. It was a second and a quarterback, and I was like, "Yeah, that works out for me."
Yeah, if I would have known that, I would have given Angel Keenan Allen for way less. Like, I would have never tried to trade him for that much. But I also didn't expect Keenan Allen to have the year he did. So I think I definitely lost that trade. That ended up being not a good trade for me. But it's Dynasty, so it is long term. Like, so maybe JSN has his breakout year, and it could be different.
He'll really start breaking out once Lockett's gone. Lockett's 32, 33, probably something like that. He's not staying around forever.
And I think I'm hoping at least like halfway through the year he will like take over the wide receiver 2 position from Lockett. But also part of like why I was okay with taking that deal is because I have like some other pretty stud wide receivers where I was like, okay, I want to just balance out my wide receiver room where I had some older players, some younger players. And Jackson Smith-Njigba was one of my top rated receivers who were from last year's draft, and I was like, okay, I have a chance to get younger. I definitely value youth. I like youth a lot. And speaking of youth, you have one pretty solid young receiver in Zay Flowers. How do you feel about him?
That was a pretty solid trade too.
Yeah, that was
long term. I don't know. I'm high on him because he's explosive. He's fast, great hands. But is that offense going to be enough for him to go for top 10 receiver numbers, top 15 receiver numbers?
True.
You have Andrews. Lamar's the best running back in football. So it's
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing though. Like when you're looking at your roster, like if he's your wide receiver 3 or your flex, like you're happy with that.
Well, that's not a bad flex.
No, like
I don't think he'll ever blow up to like a wide receiver 2. I think he's a possibility because Lamar does like him, but Lamar's hit or miss with his throws. So it's certain weeks you're going to get 30, some weeks you're going to get 5.
yeah, and that pretty much rounds up your team. We don't really need to speak on kickers or uh, defense because that changes from year to year. So how overall do you view your team? Do you feel like you're a contender? Do you feel like you're in the middle?
So I think last year was what's the word? I overachieved because I didn't have a quarterback too. I was basically just rolling with the running backs, and I was like, hopefully I survive, and somehow I was getting through it. I think if with 5 and 7, if I package them up to go up in the draft to get a quarterback, or I sit back and I just load up one more talent, and then I kind of hope that Bo Nix or McCarthy fall to 5 or 7 in that range. I get a quarterback and I can get a Brock Bowers or a Dunze or a Neighbors or something like that. I think I'd be pretty set with the 5 and the 7 right there.
Yeah, two additions, and that's kind of where you're stuck with because that's your only 2 picks in our rookie draft are both 5 and 7, which could be worse. You could have 2 third-round picks, but it's that the lack of depth that could be hard because sometimes the draft picks are dart throws. Like Puka was a 5th-round draft pick for us. Like
like you said, the running backs aren't very strong in the draft. I think wide receivers are absolutely loaded this year, which I don't have to stress out on receivers because I'm pretty loaded at receiver already. But I think Brock Bowers is like that. Depending on where Brock Bowers gets drafted, he's probably a top 5 pick. He goes to a team that throws the ball a lot. He's that guy.
Yeah, he's pretty solid. I've contemplated like what I'm going to do at 103. Like part of me is like, do I want to spend a top 3 pick on a tight end? Like depending on who's there, having options is always nice. And I think when it comes to 5 and 7, there should be a quarterback there. I mean, for sure, like more than likely like a JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix. All of them will be available. But if a Drake May falls to 5 or a Jaden Daniels falls to 5,
if one of those guys dropped to 5, it's an automatic. Let me go. Let's go.
We've kind of spoke about it. Like we've had discussions about swapping 3 and 5, and I think it's gonna how the draft will play out is gonna be interesting because I know there's at least one other team who's sitting behind you who really wants or really likes one of the quarterbacks. But I've told like me and him can't agree on terms, so I'm perfectly fine with staying at 3. And whoever when he watches this, he knows who he is, but not trying to bust anyone out too crazy. But
I think with 5 and 7, it's like it's not a bad situation. I'm not going to get a Caleb or a Jaden most likely, and you're not going to get Marvin Harrison. But I think I'm young enough on the wide receivers outside of Mike Evans that I don't have to. I can kind of sit and wait for a receiver at 7 if I really had to.
And that's part of why one of the things when I was reached out to you and a couple other teams, I was like, I'm like doing the math. Like I'm looking at the teams. Okay, I know Caleb's going 101. Okay, where's Wyatt going at 2? And if I trade back with this person, they're probably gonna get a quarterback. Okay, well then where's Ramley go at 4? And then at 5, okay, well, like which receivers do I like? Because I think the top 3 receivers in this draft are all going to be really good. I think Marvin Harrison's going to be good. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be really good, and I think Rome Odunze is going to be really good. I think all of them have talent. So I was like, okay, is it worth like getting something extra to go from potentially Marvin Harrison Jr. to Rome Odunze? And that's where I'm like debating with myself.
Yeah.
I
And I
think
know the other LSU receiver, Brian Thomas, he's 6'3", like fast physical freak. And I'm like, if I can move back a little bit there, get a little bit more draft capital, I don't think Brian Thomas is going to be that far behind those guys.
that's the person who is doing our mock draft. He views Brian Thomas pretty highly. We kind of talked about that. I'm very much looking forward to when that podcast drops. I'm gonna put some production effort into it. Like I'm gonna try and do some slideshows or something with like pros and cons of these players to help give everyone. I think it'll be fun just to see. Just you never know who people are gonna pick, but just to kind of guess to me and stuff.
I think the biggest wild card of the rookie draft is probably going to be McCarthy, because it depends on what team he goes to. If he goes to a crappy team, no one's going to want him. He's going to probably slip to like the end of the first round. But if he goes to a solid team, like I think that's where I think
Minnesota?
Penix has a chance to go early. Because if he goes to the Vikings, they're going to throw the ball every day on play, so that's perfect for him. And he has Addison and Jefferson, so
That's a good landing spot for a quarterback, and I think you wouldn't have to spend the top draft capital like you would for Caleb Williams for J. McCarthy. And I've even thought about it too. I'm like, okay, like if Marvin Harrison's there at 3 for me, but he goes to New England, like that's tough.
Probably going to slip to number 5 at that point.
Like that makes it tough, and that's where it's easy to say now, but until we see the landing spots, that's why I want to do a pre-NFL draft mock version and then a post-NFL draft version to see like how it changes with landing spots. But
I think New England's so bad you have to go quarterback. You just got rid of Mac Jones. I don't even know who their backup is. I know I had him on fantasy for a while, but I forget who he is. So I'm like,
something called a Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, that one. I feel like they have to go quarterback. Like the top 3 quarterbacks are there: May, Jaden Daniels, and Williams. I feel like those have to be the top 3 picks. Unless somebody really likes McCarthy and is going to trade up to the top 3 just for McCarthy only. I don't see any of those other guys like doing.
You would think, but I mean, crazier things have happened in the NFL draft. But yeah, no, I'm definitely. I think one of my other philosophies is talent over situation, because situations can change on the drop of a hat, but the talent's usually going to stay the same.
See, I'm like 50-50 on that, because I had DJ Moore the last couple of years in Carolina. All the targets in the world, horrible quarterback play. So it depends on, I think, how bad the situation really is. If it's a situation that looks like it can be an easy fix or has some upside, I would pick talent. But if he goes to New England and they have no quarterback, I'm not touching Marvin Harrison. I'll draft him, but he's going to sit probably taxi squad with my receiving room.
Yeah, well, like for my team, for example, like I have Kyle Pitts as my tight end. Like the talent is there, but the situation with Arthur Smith and the quarterback play like ruined it. But it's like if I sold or I got rid of the talent, now the situation has changed. He has Kirk Cousins. Like
I tried, trust me. I tried getting him for the last 2.5 years, 3 years. I've been trying ever since day one.
Yeah, I've been a Kyle Pitts truther where I'm like, no, I can hold him. I think if the quarterback situation didn't change, like this off season this year would have probably been the most likely I would have traded him, but it probably hurt me in the long run. Like there's a couple players where I've just been like, no, I believe in them, and they got to turn it around. Hopefully,
Kyle Pitts is also 6'6", runs a 4.4. He just needed a quarter. He just needs a solid quarter, not even a great quarterback. Kirk Cousins is a solid quarterback, and he just throws the ball everywhere. So I think London and Pitts are gonna career years next year.
I really hope so, because that's probably one of my weak spots on my lineup is Kyle Pitts at my tight end position. So with your team, who's your one cornerstone player? Like, who's your one guy that you're like not trading? I'm building around him.
I keep telling myself it's McCaffrey. I like to tell myself that, but
he's getting up there.
Everyone has a price. If there's one guy for sure I would not trade in whatsoever, and I've been a big DJ Moore guy forever, it'd probably be DJ Moore.
That's
I
your
liked him. I liked him when he was in college. I thought he was a stud in college. Went to the NFL, blew up right away. I think my receiving room, just in general, is like loaded. So like, I don't think I would really want to change much in the receiving room. Maybe Mike Evans, just because he's 30 something. But
yeah. So would it DJ Moore be your cornerstone player?
I think DJ Moore / Pittman. I put those two guys together because if their quarterback situation goes positive, because they haven't had great quarterback situation, either of them. One had Justin Fields and one had Gardner Minshew, and they're both top 10 guys.
Yeah.
If they get better quarterback play, then you're talking about 2 top 5 receivers in fantasy.
Yeah. No, that's definitely those are good players to build around. So who's your favorite player on your team? Not like just it could be, doesn't have to be fantasy necessarily related, but like who's the one player on your team that's your favorite?
Sadly, DeAndre Swift.
Swift?
My favorite player. Yeah, I said I followed him in college. I watch a lot of college sports. That's how I kind of got like the good young draft picks that I did because I watched so much college sports. And DeAndre Swift was one of those running backs, and he was electric in college. And just every year in redraft, I draft him no matter what.
Yeah,
because his potential is all the way up here.
The ceiling was
it's
Swift.
Crazy.
Just gotta get in the right situation to really like hit that ceiling. Yeah, no, that's a good favorite player. I think 2 years ago, so it would have been it was in our other Dynasty league, but same year as that we started, I traded 2 first-round picks for DeAndre Swift. And that's why that team I'm totally rebuilding, because that trade crippled my team.
I think I drafted him in the second round of our draft. And then I landed him and McCaffrey, and I was like, DeAndre Swift's younger, faster, and the Lions are going to run the ball every play. So I was like, I need him. And then like after I drafted him, I was like, damn, I think I screwed up. Now I got to trade up, get back to the second round and trade McCaffrey. So then I was able to get both of them in the second round.
Yeah, we made that trade in the startup draft that I traded you my second round pick for the 3. So I had the corner, the 310 and the 401.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting AJ Brown and Kyle Pitts out of that trade.
That's not a bad one to have.
No, that was definitely a big time trade and everything like that.
Like I said, I instantly regretted it. I was like, I need McCaffrey. I need him. I need to give him back.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about drafting a running back at that time, but it was like I love McCaffrey. I've loved McCaffrey since I'm a Stanford fan, so I think I've always really loved his game. I always thought he was going to be really good in college. But during that year, it was right after he had all the injuries. And I rode his 2019 season to a championship in one of our redraft leagues. And I think he's a stud. I think he's going to be really good. As long as he stays healthy, and that worries me as a Niners fan, because they give him the ball so much that he's not gonna. He takes some shots, and I'm like, ooh,
I think this year they're gonna ride Elijah Mitchell a little bit more, give him more like 5-10 touches a game instead of him never touching the field at all.
Yeah,
just to kind of like the short yardage downs, like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. There's no point in McCaffrey being in there. Get Mitchell in there. He's 220, 30 pounds. Just get him to run a couple plays at a time.
Yeah.
Get a little bit of a break.
You spell him a little bit better. All right. Who's one player you have the ability to pluck one player off someone's roster in our league? Who are you stealing and why?
I've actually thought about this way too much because I look all the time. Because my quarterback situation's so crap, and I traded you Josh Allen, I'd like to have that trade back.
So you'd steal Josh Allen back.
Josh Allen or Mahomes, I'd take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, they've kind of gone back and forth, like quarterback one, back and forth.
Yeah.
I think prior to the season, I even like talked about Devin. I was like, hey, like we wanted to swap Allen for Mahomes. Like, what do we talk? Like, how close do you view them? Like, I'm glad it didn't because Allen's still the quarterback one.
I think Allen will be better in fantasy just because of running opportunities, and he gets every goal line carry. He's the best running back on the team. And then Mahomes is just going to kill you with 5,000 yards and 40 passing touchdowns.
Yeah,
that's like two kind of different quarterbacks.
I think longevity. I think Mahomes will have the longer career, and I think that's what I was thinking when I like brought it up with Devin and just kind of like, hey, what do you feel about this? Just because I was like, okay, I think Mahomes will have the longer career than Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I think Josh Allen has a higher upside year to year, but like Mahomes, I think will easily be a top 5 fantasy quarterback for the next 10 years. Like,
oh yeah,
Josh Allen, 10 years from now, he might be out of the league because of injuries and just durability.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, when I was just looking like long term, but I'm glad it didn't. I like Josh Allen. I think
you still have Herbert too. The Chargers aren't going to suck his whole career, so.
No, I've always been a big Herbert fan. I think that's another one where like just the talent. He's got the arm talent. He's fun to root for. I think I like him. I like Harbaugh. I'm a huge Jim Harbaugh fan from his time with Stanford and the 49ers. So I think I was pretty happy that Herbert has a new coach, and hopefully they can put some talent around him. And he doesn't have to be like great, but just solid. I'll take solid.
I think he'll be solid for a couple years. They just need to get him some protection. Once you get him protection, you go find weapons. Weapons are easier to find than great tackles and great guards.
Yeah,
That's what you need first.
With his talent, like he put someone else out there, like they'll figure it out. They'll get he'll get his yards, he'll get his touchdowns.
And Quentin Thompson, was it Quint? What's his name? Quentin Johnston.
Johnston.
He still has a chance. Like that guy's 6'3", still big guy. You have Josh Palmer, who's still a solid guy. So I think in the draft, second round, you can go find a guy in the second round to be a stud.
Especially in this draft. And this draft is loaded at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I really do hope Quentin Johnston does something. He's sitting on my taxi squad, and I made the trade up to go get him in last year's draft because I wanted to pair him with Herbert. And I think I passed on Zay Flowers. I passed on a couple of the wide receivers just because I was like, I think Jordan Addison got drafted.
I think Johnston's potential is higher than I think any receiver in the draft. Just because size, speed, his situation with Herbert, who throws the ball every play. It was a perfect situation. But also a bad situation because you had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Yeah, and that's like I was like, okay, I like he sat on my taxi squad all year because I didn't need to use him, and I might start the year off with him on the taxi squad until he shows me something. But yeah, that's another player I have high hopes for to hopefully do better. So, all right, we have 2 questions for you. Here's our league-related question or football-related question. Who has the best player nickname in the league? And it could be, if you know, because Sleeper that lets you like change players' nicknames. I don't know if you've seen some of them that people have. So if you have a favorite one of those, it could be that or just whatever player nickname you like best in the league.
The Cheetah's not a bad nickname to have, let me tell you. I don't think that's a bad one. That's just me being biased.
Okay.
I think another one is Jetta's just classic. Jay Jetta's. It's the classic name.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
I haven't paid attention to all of them. There's one of them that I don't know if I can say it on here, but his name was Nick Foles, and I believe his nickname was Big Dick Nick on Sleeper. So
yeah, I think I have Brock Purdy in one of my other leagues, and it's Big Cock Brock. Like
I think that's in our league. Yeah, maybe that's
yeah,
the one I was thinking of.
Martell
Maybe that's
has
the one I was thinking
the
of.
rooster emoji. Yeah, I think on my team, I've definitely used the player nickname a lot. I like using the player nickname. With Bijan Robinson, I changed it to Free Bijan because he was being held hostage.
He
I think
was
my favorite one on my team is Brees Hall. His nickname is
Brees
Brees
Lightning.
Lightning.
I did like that one.
Jefferson, I have the little jet emoji. That's pretty much all the good ones. I think I have Flowers in another league, and it's just like the 3 flower emojis as his player nickname. But I think that's one of the cool features that Sleeper does that lets you like
Nickname guys.
I've even used it in another league. Like when I put a player on the trade block, like 2nd round pick. This is my price. Like if you want him, give me a 2nd round pick for him. Like just advertise pricing.
I don't think K9. I like K9 too.
K9,
that guy's a bulldog. That guy runs like it's his last time ever playing football. Every time.
And speaking of CMC, like I think Run CMC is a pretty cool nickname. Like the Run DMC. I have the shirt. It says like Run CMC. I love player nicknames. I think like Tua, another one, the throwing Samoan.
I didn't hear about that one, but I like that one too.
I think I've used that one before in like our player write-ups. I always would try and throw in like player nicknames and stuff.
You got Jalen Waddle as the Penguin or whatever the hell he does.
Whatever
he does.
Yeah, I think player nickname like Hollywood. His name is not really Hollywood, but
that's his first name now. No one knows him as Marquise Brown. It's Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, or Debo. Debo's not really Debo. His name's Tyshawn Raekwon. I think like I have him in that league. In the player nickname, I have his actual full name.
He's like Debo from Friday. You don't want to mess with that guy.
No, Ayuk is a better pure wide receiver, but Debo is a better football player. That dude's just a football player. He's a baller.
Yeah, he just get the ball in his hand and let him work.
He's like the heart and soul of that offense. Like it's hard to quantify what he does for that offense. All right, so we'll wrap it up. This is our non-league related question.
Okay.
So for those that work with us in the grocery league, you are our Coors vendor merchandiser person, right? Some of you may know that, some of you didn't. So I figured I was like, let's like revolve this question around adult beverages. What is your favorite adult beverage?
I'm not gonna put liquor in there. I'll just put beer because that's what mainly we deal with.
Okay, so what's your favorite beer? Give us a beer recommendation.
You can't. I like the 805 Cerveza, the lime one.
Okay, all right.
I feel like that's a good option. 805s in general, I like. They're not bad. They're not heavy, but they're not 2-3% like the light beers are. So I'd probably go with the Cerveza lime one, 805.
Nice. Yeah, I one of my favorite beers I can't get down here, because it's a local brewery to the Bay Area, Drake's. Anyone that's listening on the Bay Area side, or Steven Martella on the grocery side, or anyone else who watches this.
Is it Drake's the Gogginizer or something like that?
The Nogginizer. Yes.
We used to have that in the warehouse, and I don't know why they got rid of it.
Oh, man, that stuff is strong, but it's really good. It's really good. Like, it's like a double IPA, and it's I can't find it down here though. They don't. Very few like Drake's beers will get distributed to Southern California, but not the Denogonizer. Like I've never seen Denogonizer around here. So one of my buddies, when he comes down to my house, I always tell him like, "Hey, bring me a 6-pack. Like, we'll drink it." But yeah, that's a local beer.
Yeah. Because I know we used to have it in the warehouse, but I said it would probably only go to like Vaughn's and Albertsons. Because
Yeah,
Vaughn's and Albertsons carry every random type of beer that you're gonna think of.
yeah. I looked for it, but there's on Bear Valley, there's like the Valero right there on the corner by the freeway.
Yeah.
They have like a beer cave thing inside their Valero. They have tons of different specialty beers. And they like take recommendations. I'm gonna like try and hit them up and be like, hey, you should try and get this. I've emailed Drake's before to be like, hey, where are places down south where I can get this? They're like, yeah, no, sorry, we don't have anything like that. I think there was one place out in Redlands that maybe had it. It was like a specialty, like little grocery chain, and they had. They ended up having some. I might have found some there, but
I know down the hill there's definitely a lot more options. I know
yeah,
that for a fact.
yeah, that's the only thing that kind of sucks. But living up in the high desert, sometimes our options are limited. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Have anything else you want to add to the pod? Any questions?
If anybody wants to trade for 5 and 7, let me know.
Always open for business. I like it.
Always open for business.
Say it like I'm like it might cost you a lot, but I will trade any player on my team.
Yeah.
Like you just have to make me an offer that I can't refuse for certain players, like Justin Jefferson. You would have to pay me an exorbitant amount to like ever think about trading him. Just
I think best case scenario for you is they get Michael Penix on Minnesota. It may not be good this year. He might sit like a red shirt a year, and then he's just gonna blow up after that because that guy can chuck the ball.
I kind of hope JJ McCarthy goes there. I think that would be a solid option for Minnesota.
See, I just don't know what he can do with his arm. We never really saw him throw or have to throw that much. Penix was just slinging the ball everywhere.
Yeah, he does have a cannon, so it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. But I think Jefferson's almost quarterback proof. I think anyone would just be like, okay, like find 18 and throw him the ball. And just
20 times a game.
Yeah, just like he'll make something happen.
And I know they got a second first, but last week they traded with the Texans to get their first. They have to be planning something to get into the top 5.
I think they're planning some kind of trade up. Probably won't be till like draft day. Like they probably have their guy that they like, and that's where like I've talked with people in our leagues, and I'm like I've kind of sent out feelers. Where I'm like, okay, what are you looking at, or what do you think about that? But I'll usually say like, okay, this deal won't be until the draft, like because I need to make sure the guy that I want is going to be there before I make this deal.
Yeah, like so, I think I could see New England trading. New England needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
So if New England can trade back, get Minnesota's 2 first and potentially a second out of it, you can still get Penix later in the first. Or if Bo Nix drops, get Bo Nix, and you still have another first round pick out of it. Because I think they have like 11 and 23. You could trade 11 and 23 for a lot.
Yeah, I know. My wife's cousin's boyfriend, Royce. Shout out Royce. He's a New England fan, and he was hoping they get Jaden Daniels because Jaden Daniels is local. He's from San Bernardino.
Oh, yeah.
So he was really hoping that the Patriots will land Jaden Daniels. So hopefully, for Royce's sake, they end up he falls to 3 to them. But I have a feeling he's going to go 2 to Washington.
I think if anybody falls, it's going to be Drake May.
Yeah.
And like I've read a lot of things about Bo Nix and how Sean Payton's offense looks like it could be around an offense like a Bo Nix kind of player. And I'm like, I could see Bo Nix going to Denver. Sean Payton's always been a great offensive coach. I just don't think him and Russ fit very well together.
See, my cousin has told me, I think he said on his podcast too, that he thinks Drake May is the best quarterback in this draft.
I don't know about that. The last North Carolina quarterback I saw was a nice bust. So. I don't know.
Yeah, no, but my cousin is dead set that Caleb Williams is gonna bust. He thinks the Oklahoma Lincoln Riley quarterbacks don't do well in the NFL, and outside of Jalen Hurts, and that the jury's still kind of out on him. The track record does kind of show that a
Or
little.
you have Kyler. Kyler's not bad, but Arizona is just horrible. So I feel bad for Kyler in that situation.
I think them being at 4, if they add Marvin Harrison Jr. to that offense, that'll help him out a lot, because that quarterback room's looking pretty sad right now. I think the Michael Wilson's their
like Michael Wilson and like Greg Dortch are like they're 1 and 2. So
yeah.
I think for Arizona, you stay at 4 and you kind of hope that Marvin Harrison falls to 4.
Yeah.
If not, I think they trade back to like 7, 8, and you go get Neighbors or a Dunze potentially, something like that. But you have to have or you're drafting Arizona, switches it and goes best tackle they can find and tries to protect Kyler.
Yeah, and then
I can see that too. And then that means the receivers are going to start falling to 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, that's going to be if they don't add offensive talent, it almost like punt on the year. Like, how do you go compete in that division with those offensive with James Conner? Like,
yeah. Well, I know they have a second first-round pick, I believe, this year. So I'm like, I think they're in the 20s or something like that.
From Houston.
Yeah. So they can get a weapon out there like a Brian Thomas in the 20s, and you could draft an offensive tackle or something at like 4.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the offensive lineman. It's not a sexy pick, but you need some linemen to protect your guys. So
I think the biggest wild card too is going to be the Chargers. Like I can see Brock Bowers going there. They need receivers now because you just got rid of everybody. They need to protect their quarterback. They need a lot.
That will definitely change the outlook of the draft wherever they go.
Yeah, I think the Chargers and Cardinals. I think 3, 4, and 5 can all trade back because all 3 teams need so much help. You trade back to a Minnesota who has 2 firsts. You trade back. Trying to think of another team that would move up. I mean, the only team I see really moving up is Minnesota right now. I think they're a huge wild card too.
Yeah, and
especially with 2 firsts, like you have the opportunity to go up.
And sometimes with when you have so many holes, trading back and acquiring more draft capital is the way to go. I think even in Dynasty, like that's sometimes what people gotta go do is you gotta start looking long term if you don't got a lot of talent on your roster.
Yeah, isn't that what Cubinator did? I don't know his full name, but Cubinator traded everybody for first round picks.
No, that was
wasn't it?
That was Coach Zach. That
was Zach.
Yeah,
I know somebody traded Waddle, they traded Lawrence, they traded everybody they could find. Just got rid of all of them.
Yeah, he traded a lot, and then he had, I think, 3 firsts, 3 seconds. Next year he has 3 firsts, so he has a lot of draft picks, a lot of ammo, and sometimes that's if you don't like your team and you want a hard reset. That's sometimes what you gotta do, though. So find your couple players that you want to build around and trade away all your aging assets and strip it down to the studs and start from fresh.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up episode 4. So will we see you guys soon? Not sure if it's going to be Berry or Grocery next, but we'll be talking to you guys later.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, nice chat. Nice. See you guys.
See you later.